You set up a great process. You have a pipeline. The problem is most of the deals in the pipeline, they ain't gonna cut it. You ain't gonna make that money. And at the end, you're probably gonna be in jeopardy of getting fired. So what can you do? What is it that we can do to make sure that our pipeline, our forecast is so accurate that we're getting promotions, we're getting money, we're getting stock in the organization? Today, we're going to give you that process. And I'm telling you, this stuff works. You're just going to have to apply it. You're going to have to work. Check it out. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another great episode of the Sales Evangelist Podcast. I'm your host, Donald C. Kelly, the Sales Evangelist. And I'm so excited for another great episode. I'm so excited to be here with you today. On this episode today, we're going to be talking to Walter Crosby. Walter and I got a chance to connect a while back, and we were talking about this idea of doing a podcast episode together. And man, he was just like dropping value. And I was just like, this is great. And then we started talking about forecasting. And I was like, you know what? This would make a good episode. So we decided to do that. He came with this idea that we're going to focus on accuracy. And I'm like, all right, you got my attention, because we know that at the end of the year, last year, going into this new year right now, some of us didn't quite do so well as we wanted to. But as we're going into the new year, we're making commitments. One of the things that we do when we make commitments is that we have to change certain things. And oftentimes, the things that we have been doing usually aren't getting us the results what we want to. So we have to do things differently. And that's exactly what we're talking about. So when it comes to forecast, there's stuff that we're doing with our pipeline, with our forecast, that's just not right. We need more deals in there, but do we have the right deals? And that's what we're going to talk about today. As we dive in, listen to exactly what he shares. And one of the things that I find very fascinating is at the very beginning, we start talking about the gate and what you should let in the pipe and not, and his process for doing that. It's pretty dope. You're going to love it. Walter, welcome to the show.
Donald, I appreciate the opportunity.
I'm pumped. From our last conversation, we discussed how we can create a really good episode, and I was just pumped ever since then. It's like a kid waiting until Christmas. It was on layaway. Now I'm getting a present. So
Wow, I haven't heard layaway in a while. That's an old memory. When I was a kid,
I know some of these people won't pick up on that stuff, man, and some of these people don't know what those days were like.
Well, Kmart's have been gone for a long time,
right?
You don't know what a blue light special is either.
They don't. I remember as a kid going there and, maybe November or October, mom fighting some stuff and putting some things down for us, and would just pay little by little for that. And then when you get it, you're just like, this was excitement.
That's why you appreciate what you have, because,
right?
Because we went through that blue light specials with those. Remember those submarines that they had with the ham and the salami and all the lettuce and most
yes.
of that kind of thing?
If y'all know about that, go look at some videos on YouTube. Walter, I was bragging about you in the teaser and about having you on the show and talking forecasts, because especially right now at the end of the year, we're finding that salespeople are saying, well, that number didn't quite hit. And as sales leaders, we're like, what in the world happened? What went wrong? And as we're looking into Q1 now, planning for the next year, we need to do some things different that we didn't do so well this year when it comes to forecasting. So I want to talk all things forecasting. Maybe you can help us to just how can we ensure that our forecast is accurate? And we can give some ideas from what a sales rep standpoint and from the sales manager standpoint. Does that make sense there?
It does. That frames up a healthy conversation.
Let's go.
All
right.
I'll start this way, and you interrupt me as
sure.
we need to go. A sales revenue forecast that is what reported up to management or leadership, however we want to look at it. That is directly correlated to our sales pipeline. They're the same thing. So when our pipeline is wrong, our pipeline has what I call hope, right? There's so much hope in there that it's causing it to be wildly off. So when I have a conversation with an entrepreneur about your revenue forecast, it's not, is it right? Is how much are you discounting it? When you get it monthly or quarterly, whenever you get it, how much do you discount it? And it's the ones that say, well, 50, 60%. I feel terrible for those folks.
Yeah.
Um, the ones that are discounting at maybe 10%, they got a little bit better control. So it's not rocket science because Walter can understand it. But we really want to limit what goes into the pipeline.
Mm.
And so think of your pipeline as if you have 4 or 5 stages, right? We're talking about, maybe a complex sale that takes 30 to 60 days to sell, maybe longer. So we have stages, and each stage there's milestones. We're supposed to check off these boxes to move them to the next stage, right? Everybody's doing that, right? We have a good process. To get into that pipeline, I think there should be a gate. And it's really a scorecard, but I like to call it a gate so that people can think about it. Like, you got to open the gate to get into the yard. You got to open the gate to get into the amusement park, whatever metaphor you want to work with. And that gate should be clear. It should have a very concise criteria that we're talking to the right people, and they've gone through a couple of hurdles. And we're not trying to completely qualify them, but if you're selling dental equipment, let's just say, and your salespeople are calling on the dental hygienist at the dentist office, that hygienist probably can influence the conversation, but they can't make the buying decision. So are we talking to the right person? Right? Are we talking to somebody that can say yes to us? That's one of our criteria. Are we talking to somebody that fits our ideal profile? Are we talking to somebody that understands that they have a problem, or that we understand they have a problem? So the criteria, there's a lot of flexibility there, and I think that's one of the things that a sales manager, a sales leader, an entrepreneur, the salespeople, they can all get together and be collaborative. What's really going to cause us to have a good conversation with somebody? So we've got somebody that we're talking to. They fit our persona. They fit the ideal client profile. And there's one or two things that they have to say, that they have to have. Some sort of problem that we can solve, and maybe they're the right person. Or if they're not the right person, we know that, and we know we got to get to the next person, right? The dental hygienist, she might not be able to make the decision, but her boss, the dentist, she might be able to make the call on that thing, but the dental hygienist might be the influencer. So we know that. Then we bring them into the pipeline. So now we have somebody that's somewhat qualified, that we know we're talking to the right kind of a person, or we know where we need to go. That's a really, really simple criteria.
Yeah.
But it's a gate.
So here's the thing that I go back to then. Sales reps and sales leaders might say, well, I need to build pipeline. I need opportunities. And I'd much rather have a lot more in there, and then we can, get some stuff later on. Because, let's back up. I think sometimes the managers will tell us, make sure it's good stuff going in the pipe, which is true. But then it takes time to get the good stuff to put in a pipe. It's not like you just can't just add anyone. Like, go back to this idea of the gate. If I'm literally at the gate, I can open up the gate and say anybody could come in, or I'm going to filter at the gate and let few people in at a time. My pipeline is not going to be as big fast enough. How do I do that at a sales rep where it is totally not, it's not a waste of time, but I'm actually doing the right thing by gatekeeping and ensuring a good volume goes in? So I'm looking for, is there something that I can do tactically to build pipe appropriately? Am I making sense there?
It's a really good question, because I'll answer it this way, Donald.
Yeah.
Most sales managers are like, I want really good stuff in there, qualify these people, make sure it's tight.
Yep.
But I want 5 times the revenue that you're supposed to close. Okay, so which do you want, boss? Which do you want? I literally had a sales manager on my last job where I was a frontline salesperson. He's like, we're looking for 5 times the revenue, your revenue goal, to be in your pipeline. I
Yeah.
can do that this afternoon.
Yeah.
Is that what you want? Well, yeah. And I'm like, it's not what you want. It's really not. Right. So I had to explain to my boss, and that's when I realized I needed to do something different. But my point is, you can't have some magical 5 times or 3 times number, right? It 100% what you said. It takes time to build quality. But if we're building quality and we're saying the right things to these people, and we've got a strong process where the buyer feels like they're getting the information, we're getting the information we need, we're moving them through the process, our win rates go up because we don't have so much crap in the pipeline. So if you think about it, of the 5 times, 3 times of that, the 3 of the times, it's just crap because we're just trying to create an illusion with our boss. That myth is what's causing tons and tons of problems for salespeople and sales managers. They're lying to themselves. So what comes out the other end is a lie.
It's garbage back out. Yeah. So you still got to have that sense because the argument come back from the other side is like, as you're building this pipeline though, you got to have contingencies. Like things happen. Lucy, that hygienist, we may not have known that her mom was going to pass away and she was gone for a month. And, Dr. So-and-so is not, looking to do anything. I was hoping that came in October, but now things got thrown off. How do you still plan for contingencies?
Oh, well, that's the other thing that goes along with reality.
Yeah.
You got to work. You have to.
Come on, man.
I know it's hard.
Where's the easy button? Dang it, Walter, over here making me do work.
You want sales to be easy? Go work for marketing, right? And I know I just pissed off a bunch of marketing people. No offense, guys.
No offense, marketing guys.
Send me the letters, not Donald. But the point is that you still have to do the work. So if you think about what's your win rate, what's the win for that individual? It's not one win rate for the whole company. We need a win rate for each person. We need to get the data to be that tight. We need to start to understand where their gaps are and their strengths. Are they saying the right things, right? We could do another episode about do they say the right things to the right people? That's a whole different situation. But let's just pretend they are. So we need to be talking to enough people that are qualified. So if you have 2.5 times your number because you have 50% close rates, 2.5 times gives you a little fudge factor, right? Because you're going to close half of them. But you also have to think about how long is your sales cycle. So if you got a 2-month sales cycle and you bring on a new rep and they're not totally green, and we are really good at telling them who they need to talk to and what they need to say, that's another, magical wand we're waving here. But let's just pretend we do that. It's going to take them a month just to figure out how to put all that together. And then it's going to take them 2 months to build a pipeline that's going to have something that comes out the other side because our sales cycle is 2 months. So we got 3 months if we're doing the work, right?
Yeah.
If that sales manager is holding people accountable. So the forecast is wrong because the pipeline is wrong. The pipeline is wrong because we're not qualifying these people in advance. We're putting in too much junk. We don't have, St. Peter at the gate, right? Or a Doberman, something.
We're letting any and everybody come through.
Anybody with a pulse gets in. Okay, yeah. We're going to have problems. So stop telling people they got to have 5 times, 6 times, 7 times, and really start to do the work of what's the win rate and start working on it and start helping them when they get stuck. Tell them you can't put that person in. They're never going to close.
Yeah. You got to give them a little bit more. So we're adjusting the pipe before we're adjusting the gate. We have a gate and we have some criteria at the gate. We need to figure what those things are. You gave some good ideas on that. Number 2, we need to make sure our win rate is forecasted. So this is something that we have to calculate per rep rather than this is our average per team. So Lucy is 50% close rate. Bob is a 40% close rate, and Jeffrey is a 60%. So each of those are factored in. As a leader, it's my job now. I have to do work to be able to know how to get everybody back up to like a Bob level, where we get to that 60, and how we can get Jason or whoever I said up to like that 50. So we're constantly working in that way, in those parameters. And between the sales rep on my side, we should be able to do that. So now we have that. That doesn't mean my pipe is fully accurate. I want to make sure it's going to still stay accurate. What else could I be mindful of to make sure my forecasting that I'm sending up to the executive level is going to be, this is like this is like it's a SpaceX rocket that I'm trying to land on a launch pad in the middle of the ocean with 2 arms, and it's the size of a 30-story building. It has to be precise. So what else can I do to make sure this is precise?
Well, it's a really good question. Your process has to be really, really accurate and optimized for your business. What do I mean by that? Mm-hmm. Let's just say you have 4 stages of your process. You're getting somebody qualified at your initial meeting, and then you're going to do some really good discovery. I think about it in terms of baseball. You get the first base, second base, third base, and you come home and score, right? Mm-hmm. Real simple. And you're on first base because you got a meeting with somebody that, kind of sounded like they fit your profile and they were the right type of buyer. So you're standing on first base and you got to get to second base. Can't cut across home of the pitcher's mound to get to third, right? And that's what most people do. They're on first and they run across the pitcher's mound to get to third base because they want to send out a proposal or they want to do a demo. Yeah. That's probably never happened, right? You've never seen that happen.
Never happened.
No. So it's illegal in sales and it's illegal in baseball. But in baseball, you get called out. In sales, they give you a promotion because you did a demo, and that might be a KPI. So you want to make sure that you're clear about what has to happen in between those stages, right? There's a reason to keep talking. There's some sort of urgency on the customer's part that they need to fix this, right? And we've monetized their problem, right? So we want to have some of those steps between first to second. And then between you get to second and third, we want to understand who's making the call, who's making the decision, what their criteria is, right? Are they willing to pay a little bit more? Because I'm assuming we got a premium product and a premium offering, right? So, and we got to make sure that we know how they're going to make that decision, because if they've never done this before, they don't know. So we got to help them. You get through all of that and you've made your sale between first and third. If you really, really think about it, you found urgency, you found a compelling reason, they have some money, you know who's making the decision, you know what their criteria is, and you know when they're going to do it. You're standing on third. Now you get to decide what you do next. So there's another gate. Do we do this proposal because we've gathered all of this information and Mr. or Mrs. Sales Manager needs to go look at this and make sure that the salesperson has done their job? They've got all of that information. If they skipped a step, like, well, yeah, I didn't feel comfortable asking him if he had enough money. Okay. You really can't. Right? So the gate to do the demo, to do the proposal, is there. So the gate is everything that's supposed to be done. Is it done? And now we can do the proposal. Now we can do the demo because we know what we should be talking about in that proposal because we understand their problem. We can do the demo, and now we can show them this big piece of software. They only care about these 3 things.
Yeah.
So we talk about those 3 things. Oh, it does all this other stuff too, but you said these 3 things were important, so let's go through this, right? And then you go through as what else you might need. So there's the gate there before you do that proposal or demo. You've got everything done. So your win rates are going to go up.
It's going up because you're really focusing on, like, you're I know it sounds cliche, you're focusing on the quality. Like there's a better way of looking at it is the standard. We have a standard set. Like if I'm going to put a piece of, go back to space because I love it. I never been to space, but I love the idea of space. Here we go. So if I'm going to put a piece of machinery in the atmosphere and put it to get out of our world, so to speak, that has to be precise. It has to be quality parts because lives depend on this. And the sheer factor of anyone launching anything, it's millions of dollars for a launch. So there's a lot of reasons, there are a lot of reasons that we need to make sure we get this right the first time.
Mhm.
When it comes back to the pipeline, I think the mentality is there's no consequence really if I have a bunch of fluff with the good stuff. I'm just, because that doesn't matter. But what I saw that you're putting in there is like, before, change the mentality of how we view the pipeline rather than a holding stage for everyone. The pipeline is really it is a sacred space, so to speak, that only few can get in. And we have the standards that we have identified for each stage. Nothing can go past this, and the quality of the material needs to be good before we build the rocket. And then also the inspection of that. It's not just, now let me sit down with you at your monthly meeting and then just go through all the deals in your pipe. It's, I'm going to ask certain questions and look at that before you even push this thing, ready to go on a launch pad. You mentioned the manager's looking at that before the proposal is made. Was that off? What I
Should
got?
be. They should be.
Yeah.
They should be. They should be checking it, because if you think of each stage has checklists in it,
Yeah.
so when they shoot a rocket off, they're going around making sure everybody's a go.
Everyone's
Each
go.
department, right? So
Yep.
before they push the button to go off. So they've got all that quality is there. They're double checking. So that's the responsibility of the sales manager. Salespeople, we're going to cheat. We're going to try to get around something, especially if we have a weakness around asking tough questions, or we're uncomfortable talking about money,
Yep.
right? Or we just want to be liked, and somebody comes along and it's like, oh, they want us to do a proposal, right?
Yep.
And God forbid that you have a metric about you need to do 10 proposals a week.
Gosh.
I'll give you 20, right? For what? It doesn't
Yeah.
matter. Have some meaningful KPIs. So each one of those stages is a checklist, and it's just like a surgeon, like an airline pilot. They have checklists before they do the thing. They go through a checklist. Did you
Yeah.
check the brakes? Do we have both engines? Is anything on fire? Right? It's a little more complicated than that, but right. But we need to do the same thing. Are you talking to the right people? Do you understand these things? And the tighter that is, the simpler that is, the easier it is for everybody to understand. And that sales manager needs to be managing that. That's part of their job. And I would argue that 15% to 20% of their time should be managing that pipeline. That 50% of their time should be on coaching to make sure those people understand how to get better at and to reduce the gaps in their skill set. Right? And then there's
Yeah.
like another 15% that's just going to be bullshit kind of paperwork that they got to do. And that's just part of the nature of it. But they need to be focused, not burying their head in the pipeline. They just need to be able to look at. I can look at a pipeline, and I'm like, that's BS.
Yeah.
That's not right. And I don't even know anything. I haven't asked any questions. So if you really think about what a pipeline should look, if you're looking at it in a Kanban view, where it's there's more over here in the first stage, and it goes up like the side of a funnel. And
Yeah.
at the end, there's fewer jobs in the final stage than there were up here. And that's the way it's supposed to be, because we should be, and this is, salespeople are going to hate this, business owners might hate it, ruthlessly disqualifying our prospects. We should be looking for the reason why these people are not going to do business with us.
You're not a fit. You can't get through the gate. St. Peter says you're coming over here with all this garbage. You can't get through.
Go do it again.
So.
Right? Some people think go doing it again is an option. Right? I don't know. We're not here to talk about religion, but at some point, there's got to be a criteria to get in. Somebody's got to earn the right. So I always say to somebody, there's a price, because I hate doing proposals.
Yeah.
Right? But sometimes we have to do them. But to me, the price of a proposal is a decision by the buyer. So I want to be sure that I know what they're going to do, and I get them to agree. If I give you this proposal, Donald, and it's everything you want, it fits into your budget, and you think it solves all the solutions, what happens next?
Then it's go time.
Really? Because you can say go, right?
Oh,
this is the conversation I'm going to have with the customer.
Gotcha.
I'm going to ask them that question before I do the proposal.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. And because what did I really do? I ask like that question, but I kind of did a proposal.
Yeah.
And if I know what they want, what their problem is, and why it's important, I can write a good proposal. I can do a
Yes.
good demo.
Because you're creating exactly what I need and what I want, rather than this. Let's just get to the next step. And it's almost like you're creating it together, right?
It's a collaborative
Yeah.
process because it's consultative.
Yeah.
Right. And consultative is not just about asking questions. It's about asking questions of the right person in the right order, right? And that we're really focusing on qualifying this person as to whether they really fit. Because if we're going to get the no, where do you want it? After
Yeah.
you spend weeks?
I want to get that now so I can move forward.
Second favorite answer, a no.
This is good. I wish we could spend all more time on this, but I know you got to make money too, and all that fun stuff. I want to summarize a couple things that I have here. One, mindset change. We have to change the way that we look at forecasts, rather than this just being a figurative word. This is a once a quarter type of process, end of year. This is a living, breathing thing. The pipeline is connected to it, and we have to change the way we look at it, that not anyone and everyone can get in it. And we need to have the way that I look at it from a manager and my sales team look at it. We have to look at it as this is an opportunity to be able to help someone solve a problem, and we don't have multiple chances of messing up, the luxury of messing up. We're putting something in space. So my mindset's changed on that. Two, the idea of that gate before they even get into the pipe, the stages, the quality assurance at each of those stages, and the management component. Managers are checking off on this. And then three, figure out your number. You got to know what your pipeline, what your conversion rate is, and that's how much you should have in your pipe.
You nailed it. Those are the big things, and you can.
And you can't. There's no such thing as hope in a pipeline.
Yeah. That's a phrase I use that people look at me like, "What do you mean?" We don't want hope. We want
no
real.
hope.
We want it to be real.
I love this. Listen, Walter, if folks are listening to this, they're like, Walter dropped some value bomb here, Donald, and I want to connect with them. What is the best way for them to connect with you?
LinkedIn, honestly, is I'm on there a lot. It's usually in the background. I address questions that pop through. I use LinkedIn the way it was intended, to like drop information, give value to people. If somebody asks me a question, I'm happy to answer it. I really think LinkedIn's the easiest and simplest way to ping me.
Okay. We'll go ahead and put that in our show notes so folks can get access to you and connect with you there. But this was great. Loved it, man. Thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show. Thanks so much for dropping the wisdom to us. We appreciate you, Walter.
Appreciate the opportunity, man. Thank you.
I'm totally you like Walter. I told you, man, that you're going to like Walter. He came in, he brought so much value. And I love the part there. I mean, it gives more work to us as leaders, but we have to make sure we are checking off at the end those deals before they get into that proposal phase. Did the said seller have all those things in place? And if you're doing your one-on-ones properly as a sales leader, you're going to be able to know what deals are real or not. And you're working with a seller throughout the process, so you know if they're doing those checkpoints. And we have to challenge them. We have to ask them certain things that's going to help them to make sure those deals move along further. So I highly recommend you check this. You apply these things. Go listen to this again. Share it with your team. Share it with a friend. But it's good. And connect with Walter on LinkedIn. Listen, I want you to thrive and I want you to succeed. And if you want help and you want to work together in our mastermind, you can find more details by going to thesalesevangelist.com/mastermind. Again, thesalesevangelist.com/mastermind, where we challenge each other. We help you to make sure that the deals that you're progressing are actually working. We'd love to help you out with that. As always, I want you to raise your level of thinking. I want you to abolish some of those beliefs that are holding you back, that are not progressing. I want you to do big things and close more deals. But most importantly, I want you to believe that it's possible, and I want you to work and do it. Go out, do big things. Can't wait to see you in the next one.